This is not only the advice on love that applies to Africans looking for true happiness, but it's also a candid description of what you need to do in order that we can have the Pan-African unity we desire. Everyone is looking for an excellent relationship, and if a relationship prospect were good enough, they would move to where they can be happy. This is where you come in. By being your best self, you welcome more into the Ankobia nation. We can expand on excellence alone, but our appeal will be more than individual excellence. In this speech, I elaborate on knowledge of self in a manner rarely engaged, but surprisingly holistic. This is a culmination of years of study. Knobeco had been an early invention of mine, but this articulation of self-knowledge was the missing component, and it's great here. The theme of Ankuja Seneb will, Aman willing, resurface in my future projects. See suggested projects. Regardless, this speech is something to live by and share. The key to all problems is the problem of consciousness. We learned this in ancient Wase. And in the pro-black compendium, we learned there were 4 stages of African consciousness. On a fundamental level, it's imperative to understand that you are your consciousness. That's it. As such, your level of consciousness is critical to your experiences on Ta. This is undebatable. By altering your consciousness, you can tolerate experiences that would be intolerable otherwise. Namely, you can sleep through excessive noise or even a surgery, people literally puncturing your skin and operating on the contents within you. You can even experience intense moments without physically engaging them. This is what is known as dreaming. In your waking moments, your sense of discipline and charm can impact everything within your control, to or against your favor. Your consciousness is you, and the stage you possess determines your cohabitability and therefore the happiness you can achieve in an intimate relationship. The only cohabitable stage of African consciousness is the Ankobia stage. All other stages are prone to relational failure. Fortune may keep a failure-prone relationship together, but the skill of marriage is only mastered by the Ankobia who practices Knobeco and engages with another Ankobia practicing Knobeco. So what is Knobeco? Knobeco is a portmanteau for know yourself, be yourself, complete yourself. It is a direction and command that describes the entirety of a strong African bond. And practiced, it allows for your perfect self, which includes a powerful marriage with another perfecting being. For the African is half. Men and women are half of a union. Knowing yourself as a complementary, reciprocal half is fundamental to a meaningful and prolific existence. Knowing the limits of yourself as an individual and the potential of yourself in a union is part of the larger journey towards self-completion, marriage itself, and therefore family building of the highest order. The first concern for the African seeker of love must be self-knowledge. However, what constitutes self-knowledge has been widely obscured. Still, 4 words can encapsulate the fundamentals of this concept. Ankh Uja Seneb Neb, master life, wealth, and health. Our ancient forebears would repeat Ankh Uja Seneb, life, wealth, and health, as a matter of well-wishing or due deference. Neb can be added to transform the meaning into a command that portrays what knowledge of self and being of self really is. Ankh, meaning life, Ujah, meaning wealth, Seneb, meaning health, and Neb, meaning mastery, expresses knowledge of self and being of self as mastering life, wealth, and health. And completion of self would be the reciprocal partnership between 2 pursuing Ankh, Ujah, Seneb, Neb. Reciprocity being important not only as a concept of Ma'at, but as an understanding that a relationship is built on giving as well as receiving. And in many ways, our partnerships are based around what we can get in return for what we can give. Everyone should look to receive and everyone should look to give in return, but only the Ankobia stage is empowered to practice this on the harmonious level. Other stages already practice a broken reciprocity, and this is why their relationships fail. For instance, the relationship between the model who seeks monetary gain for their looks and the well-to-do African who seeks a model in exchange for money is on the path to failure, notwithstanding the reciprocal accordance of both. If neither are on cobia, neither's looks nor money are in their control, and in addition, the bond and the exchange are fickle and subjectively rated. These are not two complementary halves as much as two expenditures, and the experience is bound to crash. These sort of failed scenarios are typical of Africans who are not Ankobia. Understanding and practicing Ankh Uja Seneb Neb elevates the African toward that holistically complementary reciprocal union, the only bond worth family building. So can Ankh Uja Seneb Neb be further articulated? In a sense, we can see Ankh Uja Seneb Neb as Ankh Neb, mastering life, Uja Neb, mastering wealth, and Seneb Neb, mastering health. These three pursuits of mastery can be separately looked upon to articulate the whole of Ankh Uja Seneb Neb, and therefore the whole of self-knowledge and self-being. So a part of Ankh Uja Seneb Neb is Ankh Neb. Ankh Neb is mastering life. The question then is, how do you master life? You master life by mastering living, where mastering living constitutes fulfilling the four organizational roles every African should participate in, namely your racial role, your national role, your communal role, and your familial role. Your racial role corresponds to your role in race war. As on Cobia, it is necessary to understand that you are the true warriors, and true warriors have combat roles, real combat roles. The question you need to answer for yourself is, what is your combat role? Are you a soldier? If you are, who is your captain? Are you a captain? If you are, who is your general? Are you a general? If you are, who is your Nasut? Or are you a Nasut? If you are, who are your generals? Where is your land? And how do you serve Amon? The combat hierarchy and your place within it is something necessary for you as an African to grasp and commit to. The victory of the race is in the hands of its warriors. But the war structure is concrete and hierarchical. It's not enough to claim warrior status. Reporting for duty and following or giving orders is paramount in the grand scheme of racial accomplishments. Separately, your national role corresponds to your role in national development. The nation is that mutual aid society for our Keru. Your national role, then, is how do you advance that nucleus? What do you do for your Boko? What do you do for the Keru? What institutions do you develop? How are you contributing to our nation? This aspect of life mastery speaks toward national value, the absence of which makes for an African without any role in African power. Commoner, Keru, or Nesut, which are you, and what is your relation to the others? The Nesut being the center of the Keru, elites, and the holder of land. Your communal role is your role in community genders. Namely, how is your gender organized? How are you organized to protect? How are you organized to heal? How are you organized to hunt? Protecting, healing, and hunting are fundamental pursuits of nearly every living organism on Ta, and even down to melanin itself. You, as an African with a gender, must organize with that gender to continue the fundamentals of our race and your gender itself. Man is the primary protector and secondary healer, and woman is the primary healer and secondary protector. But what does this constitute? What is the training for this and what is being taught? You need to know your responsibility in teaching your gender. You need to know your gendered responsibilities. You need to know lessons in intimacy and family and how you will learn or teach them. You need to accept your role and obligations as either pre-initiate, initiate, elder, or nesut, or kandake. This is what it means to be communal, to be in a brotherhood or sisterhood. Then, of course, there's the family role, your role in family planning. This is where you must concern yourself, firstly, with where you will live as a family. After this, the concern must be how many children you are willing to have. How will they be raised? What will your grooming and styling habits be for yourself and them? What skill will you pass on and how? What names do you desire to share? And how well do you maintain a household? Your family role in an early relationship changes from child to parent, and parenting is preparing your child to be a parent. So, what is an ideal parent to you, and how will you be that? But also, other roles exist in the family, from elder to clan leader, and those can relate to a Nesut and the Keru. Who are they, and where will you eventually fit in, and what are the ambitions of your ideal partner? If parenting is done right, a parent becomes grandparent in a matter of years. What is an ideal grandparent to you? Great grandparent. These are questions you must answer and become the answer to in order to claim Ankh Neb and be partly ready for a meaningful marriage. Uja Neb, mastery of wealth, is another concern in Ankh Uja Seneb Neb. This requires an understanding of wealth. Wealth is a societal value. You are wealthy if you are socially valuable. This has a concrete meaning. All relationships have a giving and receiving component. Therefore, wealth is what you receive weighed against what you give. In our way, the African way, the way of reciprocity, giving and receiving is reciprocal and balanced one against the other. Great wealth then is generated in our way by greatly giving and thus greatly receiving in proportion to the exchange. This is contrasted to our enemy's way of exploitation. Askari follow our enemy's way. Relationships of one-way exploitation or even mutual exploitation centered around taking are horrific experiences that most Africans regret even while they are in them. Ujaneb is wealth generation through our way. The importance here, however, is to have a product, service, or contribution and exchange it in the African market that yields either the largest profit or the most acceptable. For instance, where it's most desired and consistent with our goals as Oncobia. This wealth generation is fundamental to the Oncobia standard. What's more, understanding your wealth potential and living up to your wealth desire facilitates your relationship and the bond therein, particularly as you and your partner can facilitate both of your pursuits of wealth generation and coordinate your work schedules on top of balancing family. This makes the partnership mutually beneficial in wealth as opposed to mutually detrimental, the typical Askari arrangement. Seneb Neb, mastery of health, completes Ankuja Seneb Neb. Health is a product of diet and exercise, both in the physical and mental sense. This makes health wellness a byproduct of physical diet, physical exercise, mental diet, and mental exercise. These can be seen as your food intake, your weekly activity level, your studying habits, and your social intellectual engagements. In terms of food intake, a diet should be more alkaline than acidic and should be plentiful in vegetables, fruits, and water. The alkaline-acidic balance is a scientific matter that requires Oncobia scientists to study, but generally speaking, supplementing your organic diet with organically grown vegetables and fruits and clean water suffice for good health practices. Some would reason other restrictions on a diet, but those are preferential and neither science-based nor ancestrally derived. For activity level, regular intense workout days along with regular rest days can keep the body in shape. If time permits, walking for extended lengths of time, or if space permits, jogging, running, or sprinting can be excellent and easy activities if your body is still up to the task. Otherwise, there are more intense exercises for limited time and space, and maintaining a schedule for exercise on a weekly basis can keep you in a healthy condition that not only enhances your attractiveness, but your longevity and ability as well. Remember, in ancient Kennesu, the average lifespan was 120 years, and in pre-Ma'afa Africa, 90 years was normal too. Your studying habits are not limited to your book consumption, although there are daily and monthly readings for the Oncobia, but it also relates to your regular correspondences with others who are studying the same material, as well as researching those that have. Your studying in this way relates to your social intellectual engagement, although that's not the entirety of the latter. Developing your communication skills and your circle of correspondences in an intellectual field is the other component that completes your mastery of health, and thus your pursuit of self-knowledge and self-being. When Ankh Uja Seneb Neb is fulfilled, you will be ready to reciprocate another who fulfills Ankh Uja Seneb Neb, thereby completing Knobeco in completing self. The benefits are numerous. Even on a sexual level, as arousal ties in with sociological, ecological, and psychological conditions. Knowing oneself and being the other half of one who is self-knowing gives a context for heightened stimulation, intimacy, and lovemaking, something only imitated and feigned by those without self-knowledge. Moreover, procreation with another invested in compatible self-knowledge and self-being will be the self-completion that welcomes an African family that has good life, good wealth, and good health. As the family is the building block of the nation, the Ankobia will be the nation of Pan-African unity, as our people will be the most desired on the continent. Pursuing self-knowledge and self-being is foremost, and the effort is the only rewarding effort when it comes to intimacy. Your partner is the parent for your children and the grandparent for your grandchildren, a wholesome bond between two Africans who know themselves and are themselves is the greatest example you can give the unborn ancestors seeking their best lives in your care. Do our ancestors, our nation, and our unborn proud. Knobeco.